Donald Trump has brought chaos into our airport in New Jersey. This is his way of doing things. Chaos, cruelty, and corruption.
So it looks like Trump may have outsmarted the Democrats on this whole TSA issue yet again, because it was already smart enough to start deploying ICE agents to America's airports. Not only is that a good political PR opportunity for normal Americans to see that ICE are not crazy, murderous Nazis as Democrats claim, but I'd further point out that the deployment has actually been working despite all of the Democrat protests and outrage, which we'll bring you even more of today. Take a look, for example, at the current wait times at many of America's major airports, including places like LAX, Detroit, Ronald Reagan, DC, Orlando. You're looking at 5 minutes, 10 minutes approximately, Charlotte, 11 minutes. The only bad one really currently left in the country as we speak appears to be Houston, which, even worth noting there, the other day was 4 to 5 hours. Now we're down to 2 hours. So this thing, no matter how much Democrats want to whine and scream and complain about it, is extremely effective. After all, if they don't want to see ICE in the airports, they could simply do something very simple, which is, of course, pay the TSA, stop the very DHS shutdown that they are causing to begin with, but we know that is apparently too much to ask. But as of just a couple of hours ago, President Trump has announced yet another brilliant strategy here, which is he plans to pay the TSA through executive order. That is right. Now, you may be asking yourself, oh, well, isn't that kind of sort of illegal, right? Isn't Congress supposed to include funding? Yes, that is true. But here's the thing. Democrats absolutely are free and likely would have strong legal grounds to bring their own court case against the Trump administration, and they've done that many times, right? Attempted to sue. But that would force them to once again go on the record and say, oh, we're against paying the TSA, and all of our propaganda claiming we're really the ones trying to pay them in reality is just nonsense. No, we're suing to stop the TSA from actually getting paid. So here we have yet another chess move, right? First, you send ICE and show the side-by-side of crazy, lunatic, left-wing protesters getting really upset while normal Americans cheer on the fact that their airport wait times have gone down dramatically. And then now here we have Trump once again effectively baiting the Democrats. Either I'm going to take executive action and override your congressional obstruction, solve the issues at our airports, or you're going to sue to block that and make your party look really, really bad. Hey, Democrats, which option do you want to choose? Well, we're going to find out about that in today's video. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That's the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, take a listen to the announcement that President Trump put out tonight. The radical left Democrats and their leader, Crying Chuck Schumer, have made it very clear where they stand, and that is on the side of criminal, illegal aliens and not the American people. They are refusing to fund immigration enforcement unless the Republicans agree to their open border policies, which will never, ever happen again. They almost destroyed our country, allowing 25 million people to enter from prisons, mental institutions, and insane asylums, those that are drug dealers, thousands of murderers, many of whom killed more than one person. And of course, as we're going to once again bring up, Democrats are not actually defunding ICE as we speak. ICE was permanently funded through one big, beautiful bill. In reality, all that Democrats here are defunding, as we've gone over, is things like the TSA, FEMA. So this really is a stupid political stunt, right? They're not forcing any actual meaningful change when it comes to immigration enforcement. All they are doing is causing normal Americans to suffer because, you know, I guess that's the pittance you got to pay for something or something like that for Renee Good or whatever, or for the left-wing voters that decided to get themselves into trouble in Minneapolis, and they started all of that. They provoked it. Democrat politicians incited all of that violence, and somehow that's our fault, right? That's why you have to miss spring break or something like that. But anyways, we've already gone over that. Anyways, here's what Trump had to say now. Because the Democrats have recklessly created a true national crisis, I am using my authorities under the law to protect our great country, as I always will do. Therefore, I'm signing an order instructing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, to immediately pay our TSA agents in order to address this emergency situation and to quickly stop the Democrat chaos at the airports. Thank you, Mr. President, caring for the American people when Chuck Schumer doesn't. Anyways, it is not an easy thing to do, but I'm going to do it. I want to thank our hardworking TSA agents and also ICE for the incredible help they have given us at the airports. I will not allow the radical left Democrats to hold our country hostage any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And folks, for all the reasons I stated previously, this is a brilliant political strategy, even whether or not it's ultimately successful. And you could tell the look of shock. They just can't believe this on CNN tonight because they're trying to ask the same questions. Oh, how is this legal or whatever? Yeah, I don't know if it's legal, but do you want to sue to stop it? Huh? Do you really want to take that risk? I don't know.
Well, breaking news in our politics lead, President Trump has just posted that he's ordered the Department of Homeland Security to, quote, immediately pay our TSA agents, although it's not entirely clear how that will work or what authority he's utilizing for that order. I want to get straight to CNN's Kristen Holmes from the North Lawn of the White House. Kristen, I know this is like just happening. We're trying to figure lots of things out here. What do we actually know right now?
Well, we're asking all the same questions that you are. So I do want to get straight to the Truth Social post because that's where, of course, he put this news as he is wont to do. This is what he wrote. He said, I am using my authorities under the law to protect our great country, as I always will do. Therefore, I'm going to sign an order instructing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, to immediately pay our TSA agents in order to address this emergency situation and to quickly stop the Democrat chaos at the airports. It's not an easy thing to do, but I'm going to do it. Well, I mean, that last line is kind of an understatement here. It's not an easy thing to do. We're not really sure what legal mechanism he has to do this or where this money would come from. Remember, the reason why we're in this situation is because they're fighting over funding for DHS that would then fund these agents who are on the ground. So where is the money going to come from to fund these agents? And if President Trump has this legal authority to kind of just bypass Congress completely on an issue like this, then why have we had these standoffs for the last decade over these various issues when usually there is a president sitting in the White House who is on one side or the other when it comes to these various issues? So it is unclear what legal authority he is using or where that money is going to come from. We have, of course, reached out to the White House to try and figure all of this out and what this plan actually means for those men and women who are currently not being paid.
Well, again, I say to Democrats, if you think it's illegal, then launch a lawsuit. See how that goes for you, right? See how that would look in the eyes of the American public, because you would have to finally once again admit, which was always true from the beginning, and I'm not sure why they feel the need to even try to gaslight about this, but yes, it is Democrats who are shutting down TSA. It is them who started this whole DHS shutdown to begin with because they were demanding this long list of reforms that ICE needs to make in order to effectively, neuter their ability to even enforce immigration law in this country. But in doing so, right, you targeted specifically agencies like the TSA, FEMA. You knew exactly what you were doing. You triggered this DHS shutdown to begin with. And then in recent days, I'm not sure if you've seen, but Chuck Schumer tried to basically circumvent all these Senate rules and, introduce these performative parliamentary gestures to say, oh, Democrats want to fund the TSA. And then the Republicans rejected it because they're like, no, either you fund DHS or this is not going to happen. We're not going to accept you holding the rest of DHS hostage just to do that. And then the Democrats run and say, it's Republicans who defunded TSA. No, you guys shut down Homeland Security to begin with. The blame is entirely on yourself, right? But nonetheless, please launch that lawsuit. Admit it is you indeed who are shutting down TSA. As it pertains to President Trump, by the way, okay? Whether he has the legal authority or not, we don't know. The overall point is what? He's basically saying right now he's going to be the man in the arena. He's going to take action. He's not going to allow the Democrats to effectively hold our government hostage yet again. And just think about, by the way, how ridiculous they've been about this, right? So you had the first government shutdown, which was nonsensical enough. I don't even remember now in retrospect what they were demanding. It was over, expensive healthcare for Americans, right? Oh, Obamacare, you have to vote to preserve our whatever. And if you don't, we're going to cut people off of food stamps. Ironically, even though we're Democrats, we're going to make the planes potentially eventually fall out of the sky because of the air traffic controllers, TSA, all this pain we're going to cause because we lost the election and therefore we're going to obstruct you. And now notice, they're doing the same exact thing, right? Oh, our voters went to Minneapolis and we encouraged them to break the law and then they broke the law. Therefore, that's everyone else's fault. So no TSA. Like, do you understand? Do you kind of conceptualize how out of bounds the behavior is? And you may say, oh, but didn't Republicans once do a government shutdown under Obama or something? Okay, but notice how, like, they're doing this every couple of months. It's not one big thing after they win the midterms or something. No, every few months under the Trump administration, whatever they disagree with, they say, okay, we're going to shut down the TSA. We're basically going to make it so that the country cannot function. You know, the wheels stop turning of the American economy because, oh, we're mad at you or something like that. No, it's ridiculous, okay? I think, frankly, you know, you can defend the filibuster all you want. I think it's insane that, you know, if one party just wants the grandstand, you can just not pass a budget and key fundamental agencies to America itself can just be shut down for several months on end because, you know, Democrats want to protest, Republicans want to protest, but still, nonetheless, a rather brave, heroic, but also very politically savvy move there by President Trump. And again, we are honestly kind of to a degree hoping that Democrats take the bait on this. I want everyone to see how ridiculous they are. Now, that said, as we speak, Democrats are still, of course, going to airports the protests, and it turns out this is no longer just the behavior of random, you know, leftists off the street or paid activists. Today, Senator Cory Booker, remember this guy? Remember Spartacus, okay? Of all people, showed up to the Newark airport to hold a big press conference trying to explain how Donald Trump has brought, and I quote, chaos to our airports, right? And this is what Democrats always say about ICE, right? They're sowing chaos in our cities and all this stuff, except he has one fundamental problem. Not only has ICE not brought chaos to any airport, but particularly in the case of the very airport he's standing at right now in Newark, New Jersey, you notice that the airport behind him is empty and quiet and no long lines. Actually, the chaos that airports were previously dealing with has been completely eliminated. And here he is standing behind a literal empty airport and saying, look at the chaos behind me, and there is no chaos. Which I think stands as another example of how, honestly, dishonest that Democrats are about ICE. But check it out for yourself.
Get ICE the hell out of our airports. Donald Trump has brought chaos into our airport in New Jersey. This is his way of doing things. Chaos, cruelty, and corruption. That is visiting upon us now because Donald Trump won't fund TSA and has brought ICE into our airport. Get ICE out of our airports. It's not good for our customers. It's not good for flyers.
Oh, really? It's not good for customers and flyers. So you mean to tell me, and by the way, we're going to take this as the verbatim political stance of the Democrat Party, that short wait times, under 10 minutes, that we're going to show on our screen once again, are a bad thing for customers, which is to say what? And I meant this quite literally from day one. All of the Democrats, that now includes the politicians, that now includes Cory Booker, who, assuming his standing in the party, we are going to assume is speaking for the entire Democrat Party. So yes, the official stance of the Democrat Party, ladies and gentlemen, is that they are against you having short lines at the airport. They're showing up to airports as we speak to protest in favor of long lines, in favor of your vacation or your trip being ruined or destroyed, in favor of you getting stuck and missing your flights. That's what Democrats support. Republicans literally support the opposite, which is why we sent ICE to airports, which is why the manpower surge has had a noticeable and drastic effect on shortening wait times. And notice, right? Okay, if you don't believe politicians or whatever they say, or you don't believe political commentators like myself, okay, use your eyes then. You don't have to listen, use your eyes. Cory Booker claims they have brought chaos and cruelty to our airports. Look at the airport. Look at the airport right now. Where's the chaos? Where's the cruelty? Yeah, it turns out, actually, as a matter of fact, Democrats just lie. That's all they do. They make garbage up. They rile up their violent domestic terrorist voter base to go and incite and provoke those very situations. By the way, let's certainly hope Democrats don't encourage their voters to once again do the same thing in America's airports as they did in Minneapolis, aka commit a bunch of domestic terrorism and then blame ICE for the terrorism that's being committed against them. I'm just saying, right? But again, the optics of this entire situation are just a complete disaster for the Democrat Party, and they're still taking the bait to this very day. While, of course, claiming it's Donald Trump who won't fund TSA, which is, of course, hilarious. And, folks, the gestures here from the politicians and the local mayors and people like Cory Booker and all that stuff are getting even more ridiculous. As a matter of fact, this may be my favorite one. So here today we had the mayor of Toronto show up, I believe this looks like an airport, to tell ICE to stay out of Toronto. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, wait, you mean Toronto, the city in Canada, right? Like, that's not in a... Yes, that's correct. Toronto, Canada, protesting against ICE showing up in the airport. Okay? The performativeness level is off the charts. Obviously, ICE has no authority in Canada. Obviously, we know that the Mark Carney government is fully keen on allowing all the illegals that they want, okay? But... as if we didn't have enough Democrat mayors doing the grandstanding. ICE out of Los Angeles, ICE out of Chicago. Now, apparently, that disease of Trump derangement has spread to other countries. Check it out.
Mayor Chow, what do you think about ICE coming to Toronto?
ICE have no place in this city. Toronto is about to welcome thousands and thousands of families because of FIFA World Cup, where everyone belongs, everyone's welcome. So stay out, ICE. We do not need you here.
Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, but why would ICE be in Toronto? ICE is a branch of the American federal government. They have no jurisdiction. They have no authority there. Like, what's even the point of this video? Although, honestly, to a certain extent, at least they're finally admitting that they are indeed the 51st state, right? That's what she's admitting. Canada is basically already acknowledging its role as the 51st state. And in order to fill that vacuum, in order to fill that responsibility, even their liberal mayors also need to understand they need to start putting out performative protest videos against ICE as well, right? So she is taking strong after her mentors like Karen Bass and Brandon Johnson and all these characters. And so there you have it again, right? They're really assimilating, I would say, into American culture very well. Okay. Because they're already doing the ICE out now type of stuff. Yeah, it's truly a spectacle to watch. But anyways, guys, with that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below, because there you essentially have it, right? Trump once again introducing new strategies to solve the TSA problem, and then Democrats protesting in favor of TSA not being solved and long lines at the airports. So let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.